Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain a Canadian-American horror, thriller film from 2018 titled Isabelle. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The movie starts with a young couple, Matt and his pregnant wife Larissa, who have recently moved into a new home in New York, eagerly anticipating the arrival of their newborn baby. Matt works as an attorney and is highly respected by his colleague Carol, while Larissa is a pianist and music teacher. One day, while Matt is at work, Larissa ventures out and meets their neighbor Anne, an elderly woman with strong religious beliefs. As they talk, Anne's daughter Isabelle, who is disabled, stares at Larissa from the second-story window, and suddenly, Larissa collapses to the ground in a harrowing and graphic childbirth. Rushed to the hospital, Larissa flatlines for a minute, during which she experiences a terrifying and otherworldly vision. The doctor later informs Matt that his wife has eclampsia, and tragically, they have lost the baby, leaving Matt devastated. Waking from her trance-like state, Larissa discovers that she and Matt have lost their baby, whom they plan to name Colton, in a stillbirth. Despite Matt's attempts to comfort her, Larissa remains cold and insists on seeing her baby. Father Lopez, the hospital chaplain informed about the incident by Matt, tries to offer prayers for Larissa, but she grabs the priest's cross and insists on seeing her son. At the morgue, Larissa's request is granted, and after viewing her son's lifeless body with a peculiar smile, she abruptly leaves before the prayer commences. Later that night, Larissa finds herself back at the morgue, facing her son's corpse alone, and as she grieves, the baby appears to cry, causing her to scream in terror, only to realize it's a nightmare. The following morning, Matt takes Larissa to see therapist Dr. Carl Nydorf, who prescribes antidepressants for Larissa's worsening suicidal thoughts and recommends they attend therapy sessions weekly. Back at home, Larissa confides in Matt about her experiences during her near-death state, revealing she saw something unsettling, and as they approach their home, they notice and staring at them from a window. In the night, Larissa rises from her bed and goes to her deceased son's room, where she holds a teddy bear intended for decorating his nursery, and as she gazes out the window, she notices Isabelle staring back at her. The next morning, Larissa encounters Ruth, a neighbor from the next street, who inquires about her baby, and Larissa sadly reveals that the baby was stillborn. Curious about Anne and her daughter, Larissa asks Ruth for information, and Ruth mentions that Isabelle, Anne's daughter, is disabled and spends her days gazing outside from her bedroom window. After their conversation, Larissa returns home and hears a baby crying. Rushing into her son's room, she is startled to see Colton, but soon realizes it's only her imagination. Later that night, Matt returns home late from work after an argument with Larissa, during which she blames him for their son's death. After showering, Matt joins Larissa in the bedroom, where she reveals her terrifying experience during her brief death. She describes being dragged into fire and unable to scream as she burns, and Matt tries to reassure her, but Larissa remains haunted by her vision, especially with Isabelle watching them from the window. As days pass, Larissa's mental state deteriorates as she continues to hear Colton's cries. One day, while alone at home, she sees Isabelle in her room through a reflection in the microwave mirror, but when she turns around, Isabelle is gone. This event marks the beginning of Larissa's nightmare. Feeling overwhelmed, Larissa goes to Colton's room, where she suddenly feels dizzy and hears the baby's cries intensify. Unable to bear it any longer, she attempts to end her life by jumping out of the window, and the scene shifts to Larissa restrained in a psychiatric hospital bed. Realizing that medical treatment alone won't improve Larissa's condition, Matt considers seeking spiritual help from Father Lopez. Convinced that Larissa may be possessed because she died for a minute due to eclampsia, Father Lopez and Matt pray together. Eventually, Larissa is discharged from the hospital, and Matt and Larissa return home. During their car ride, Larissa reminisces about their school memories and apologizes to Matt for the challenges he's faced because of her before retiring to bed. Later, Father Lopez visits their home to offer prayers for Larissa, but Matt declines, acknowledging that she is not possessed and apologizing for the false alarm. Larissa interrupts their conversation, explaining that she sees the prayers as a form of grieving, not an exorcism, before Father Lopez leaves. That night, Matt contacts his Larissa's sister Jessica, who lives in a neighboring country, and shares Father Lopez's insights about different types of demons. Jessica advises that for Larissa to find peace, she must let go of Colton in her heart and recommends a spiritual advisor who can assist with this. The next morning, Jessica arrives at Matt's house, and she and Larissa drive into the woods to meet Pedro Salazar, the holistic healer, for help. Pedro helped Larissa to give up her baby's death, and he warned her that after passing through the gates of death herself when she died, spirits might target her. Pedro advised Larissa not to allow any spirits to possess her, and after assisting Larissa, Jessica decided to return home. While leaving, Larissa noticed Isabelle staring at them from a window. Annoyed, Larissa went to Isabelle's house to warn and to stop Isabelle from staring at her or face legal action before leaving. In a flashback, and is issuing a cryptic assurance to Isabelle as they watch Matt and Larissa move in 2 weeks earlier, before and suffocates Isabelle with a plastic sheet. In the present, and goes to investigate Isabelle's room, and inside, she found only a wheelchair. It turned out Isabelle is dead, and a demon had taken her form. The spirit of Isabelle attacked and prevented her from leaving until and expressed her love for her. Isabelle then allowed Anne to leave the room. Frightened, she left the house and drove away. Meanwhile, Larissa stopped hearing the baby's cries but suddenly starting perceiving a foul odor in the house, like an animal has died. Thinking the odor is coming from upstairs, passing through Colton's room, she saw Isabelle holding a teddy bear. When Larissa asked what she is doing here, Isabelle just shot the door at her with her eyes glowing red. Larissa decided to call 911 to report the situation, but she soon discovered Isabelle has vanished and is now staring at her from her bedroom window. At night, when Matt returns home, Larissa decides to tell him what Isabelle did. However, Matt doesn't believe her because Isabelle was paralyzed and always sat in the attic window of her room, leading to an argument between the troubled couple. Furthermore, only Larissa perceives the bad smell. Matt doesn't hear, see, or smell anything Larissa mentions. In the night, while they are sleeping, Isabelle is seen standing in their room, watching them silently. Suddenly, Larissa is awakened by the bad smell, and when she asks Matt if he smells anything, he says no. Larissa insists she smells something and feels someone is in the house, and to reassure her, Matt gets his gun and checks the security alarm without noticing Isabelle in the corner. Through an online research, it is revealed that Isabelle's death was caused by her father, Frank Pelway, who sexually abused her during a satanic ritual. And, who felt remorse, could only punish herself by hurting both of her palms, knowing her prayers could not save her daughter and that she had already changed into a strange spirit. The following day, the couple decided to bury Colton's body, and while Larissa was packing Colton's belongings in a box, she began to feel a strange presence. She went into her room with a pistol and saw Isabelle in her wedding dress from the day she married Matt. Terrified, Larissa fired at Isabelle, but Isabelle vanished, leaving only Larissa's wedding dress behind. Looking out the window, Larissa spotted Isabelle laughing at her from her bedroom window. Later that night, Matt came home to find Larissa sitting emotionless on the floor with her wedding dress. She confessed feeling like a terrible mother and wished she had died instead of Colton, and Matt reassured her and urged her to stop thinking that way. Larissa then disclosed her ability to see and hear things like her father did, and she shared the truth about her father's death. She pleaded with Matt not to divorce her, and they made love after Matt kissed her. Later in the night, Larissa got up to use the bathroom, but upon returning, she found Isabelle asleep next to Matt, prompting her to scream. She asked Matt if he saw Isabelle, but he again said no and comforted the crying Larissa. The next morning, Matt visits Pedro Salazar because things are getting out of control. Pedro tells him that the evil spirit is trying to replace his life with that of Larissa, and that he needs to bring Larissa back to the gate between life and death through another near-death experience. There, Larissa will have to give up her destructive ways and choose to live. Matt returns home to find Larissa on the floor, having taken overdose and assist her in vomiting them. Later, to reassure Larissa that there is no one watching them, he decides to go to Anne's house to warn Isabelle to stop scaring his wife. When he knocks on the door, there is no answer, so he decides to break in. As he continues to call Anne, he climbs into the attic and smells a strong odor, and as he gets closer to Isabelle's room, the odor gets worse. Inside, he finds the room is empty and the wheelchair is all that is left. As he waves to his wife through the window, the wheelchair moves and bumps into a door, where he is surprised to see the body of Isabelle. As he hurried out of the house, he contacted the police and informed Larissa about what he had witnessed, but Matt is unaware that Isabelle's spirit had possessed Larissa's body. Later, Detective John Smith informed Matt that Isabelle passed away around the time they moved in. He also mentioned they were searching for Anne and gave Matt his phone number to call if he spotted her. Inside, while lying near Larissa, Matt didn't notice Larissa's now possessed, glowing red eyes, while the real Larissa was mute and paralyzed in Isabelle's wheelchair next door. Later, in the bathroom, Matt witnessed Anne returning home and immediately called Detective Smith, only to learn that Anne's body had been found in her car, and what he saw was Anne's spirit, trying to free Isabelle's spirit. Anne was shocked to find Larissa in her daughter's body and apologized to her for Isabelle's actions. Looking out his bedroom window, Matt saw Larissa in Isabelle's room, realizing the person with him wasn't Larissa. Isabelle, now a vengeful spirit, attacked Matt, but he managed to escape and run next door to save Larissa. Inside Isabelle's room, the supernatural forces caused the Pelway house to shake. Remembering Pedro's words, Matt reluctantly strangled Larissa to return her to the afterlife, pleading with her to choose life. However, his action was interrupted by the police who enter the room and shoot him. The scene shifts to Larissa's first near-death experience in the hospital. The doctor informs Matt that Larissa was clinically dead for a minute, but Colton survives this time. In the final scene, Matt and Larissa bring their baby home, and as they go inside, Larissa notices the spirit of Isabelle watching them from her bedroom window. Okay guys, that's all the recap about Isabelle from 2018. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.